Good morning. We are live and we are covering adding a feature that you might want in every single one of your Power Apps applications, which is to work with profile information, the intra or Azure AD information that we can acquire by using this Office 365 users connector right there. Okay, I am going to go full screen here. And so we had a live stream yesterday, which was like the first hour of our workshop, and we accomplished quite a few things, but we didn't quite wrap up. So I thought I'd take this opportunity this Saturday morning to show where we're at and hopefully complete this feature, so we can implement this in all of our apps. All right, so I'm going to go to the tree view, and so if you look at each of these labels here that shows my information, now you know I am my father's son. Everybody knows that now. If you look at Office 365 users dot my profile v2 about me, that's what brings that up. And each of these things, you can see all kinds of different things. So we got city. So every single label here is really the property that hangs off of the profile that you can retrieve by using this connector. Now, something that we were trying to do yesterday in the workshop, if we go over to App Formulas, let's open this up and look at what we did here. I was trying to create a user-defined function in which I return a record. But the problem with that is that we don't have a record type that we can return there. In fact, if I go in here and do this, let's see here. My phone is blowing up for some reason, and I need to silence it. There we go. You're good. So I'm going to have to comment this out, but you see, these are all the types that we have available to us when we create a user-defined function. So these are all the types that we can return. And you notice record is not one of them. Now we do have untyped object. I did try that and it did not work out for me. So the next best thing, and might I say the better option, is to use a component. So if we go over to components, we created a little component called comp user info. Now this thing really doesn't have a user interface. This is the extent of what the user interface is. It's a 50 by 50 square, but we do have some properties here. So let's look and see what we have for these properties. So as I click on it, we should be seeing the code. And as you see, it's not showing up for us this morning. Matt, I think this is your fault.
We were having some saving issues.
Oh my goodness.
Loading
Well,
issues last night.
even when we brought over a label or something, man, it was taking forever.
Mhm.
So let me see if I can click around and see if I can get this thing to come back up. If not, then we could always back out and reload. All right, so click here, click there. It's not really helping us out. Now, something I can show you here on the screen, you'll notice I added it down here. Now, let's put us to the side. And what I'm going to recommend is, before you publish this, you might want to turn that off so the user doesn't see that component. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Matt. Why did you tell me to do that? Oh, my toddler's trying to get in. Wow, if I had only known. So we had problems all yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. We were hoping they'd be fixed this morning.
No
but
kidding. Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, that's sort of a thing that was really frustrating yesterday. Everything that we tried to do, like save, add a label, we would get this. Please wait.
Mhm.
So I do know that patience is a virtue, but I don't know if it's ever going to end. So I'm going to try to go back into it, and it's probably going to tell me, oh, you've got it open in another browser tab. And we'll have to click override perhaps.
Yeah. Well, even that might be asking too much.
We'll take a look at this. So we do have an org chart over here. Now, this is actually a Power Apps template, and that's still going. Look at that. So I thought I'd share this with you guys. And I think maybe I might have touched on this yesterday in the live stream. But if you click on Start with an App Template and you scroll down, you're going to see eventually something called Org Chart. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And that's how you can get to this application template, is by doing that. And you'll get an app that looks like this, and you could go click on your profile. So if I go to organization screen, you can pull up a specific employee with all the direct reports. And this is similar, but does not show direct reports. And then this is a search screen. So if I were to do a search for Matt, we would see Matt and all of his cousins there with the same name as Matt. Those would show up. Do you have any cousins named Matt?
I do not.
All right. So the first thing I want to do, something I know that I changed, is I commented out this user-defined function that we'll have to hold off until Microsoft gives us the capability of returning a record. Okay. Now, I am going to go over here to the last screen where I have that. And I'm looking for the, and they're not really properties, they're functions that we can call. Okay, so I go over to components. Cross your fingers. I don't like the look of that. That's no good. No bueno. If I click on this, it's not going to help us. Okay, so let's go over this. We created an output property that returns a record. Isn't that nice? We could return a record. Now, let me zoom in here because I think my screen's a little small. There we go. Now hopefully everybody can see that a little better. Maybe just a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, returns the record from the app user SharePoint list. Well, let's go over to our ERD diagram that we created yesterday. So we're keeping track of all this information, and we're going to grab information out of the Intra or the Azure AD, and we're going to store some things in here that might be pertinent, like department, job title, office location. If they wanted to have a PIN, sort of like a password, but not really. It could be just 4 numbers. You know, if we ever wanted to use that in an app, that would be there. So we've got all kinds of information there that we would want to retain. Now, why wouldn't we just use the Office 365 users connector and not even have this table here? Do you know why, Matt?
Well, it's always important for us to plan things out, right?
That's true.
But what else? Why else would we do it this way?
Okay, so imagine this, Matt. We've got a gallery that shows all of our employees, and we've got 500 employees. Now, what are the pros and cons to having all this data, all 500 employees in the table? Or let's say we didn't have the table and we just use that connector. Do you see anything that might be problematic for us?
Do you always need to hit the table 500 times before?
We wouldn't need to do that, but for the connector, we would. For every row in that gallery, we're going to be making a call to that connector. And it's probably going to have to make a call to some server out there in the cloud to get that information.
Yeah.
So that would make your app probably pretty sluggish, if you ask me.
We could put that in a collection then, right? Or no?
Well, we could, but if you're going to rely on that connector every time, let me go back over to this screen here. let me add a new screen, and let's just put a generic gallery here, because this is important. Somebody asked me this in the school environment, and I took a few paragraphs to explain it, and I'm just going to sort of show you. Sometimes a picture can say 1,000 words, but that's only if Power Apps will let me.
Yep.
This is a little disappointing. Okay. Imagine I've got another screen over here. Here's a gallery. Okay. So this is going to show us 500. Now, I like to put things into a collection. Let's see if I need to do a lookup or a filter to find how many related rows there are associated with this row. As long as that thing that I'm trying to reference, the many relationship to this one-to-many relationship, sometimes I'll pull that down into a collection, but there's no method, there's no function that we can call from that connector that will give us all 500 and put it into a collection. It's just going to allow it, well, it's going to allow us to search it. That's probably about as close to it as possible. Okay. So we could do that. And even then, I think that it wants you to tell it how many rows that you want. See, we have this search term. You'd have to do a search to get multiple records. So the main reason that I do that is I have it in a table so that I can easily, without delegation problems, I can do a filter, get all the customer information I've stored. Now, the downside to that is, let's say if that data changes. Well, I'd have to say that data probably wouldn't change very, very often. How often does an email address change? How often does a name change? Well, somebody might get married and change their name. So that might change. But what you could do is, if we ever look at one particular employee, or that particular employee logs in, we can go to Azure AD and look at that one record out there and compare it, and then update our table based on that. So we can easily overcome that limitation. Okay. But if you got a big, if you go out here to the settings and you go down here and you look at this 500, you're like, oh, I want to get all 2,000. So let's say we got 2,000 employees. So you do a filter, or, you display a bunch of information in here. And let's say, even if we had all the app users in this table, maybe we didn't store the job title or the department. So then we'd have to go inside the gallery. This is really interesting. Inside this gallery here, and we could put a label in here. Hopefully it's not going to, there we go. Very good. A label here within the gallery. And then for every record, 2,000, if we have 2,000 employees, we're going to be making a call to go get the job title and the department and stuff like that. And that's just going to make your app really slow. At the best, it's going to start to display the information, and then the title and the job description, everything that we're relying upon, the Office 365 users connector will slowly start to show up. And then you'll get complaints from users. It doesn't take much for a user to complain, I'll tell you that. Yeah. So something like that, like, oh, I think I'd rather use our old app that we used before that did this just fine. And then, so now what you've got mutiny inside your organization. Like, I don't want to use Matt's app because Matt's app is slow. Yeah. So you never want to have to deal with that, right? Right. So it makes it more scalable. Now let me see if, oh, no, we're still adding a screen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, something I did notice over here I can close that one down. This org chart seems to be working fine. Like if I wanted to add a new screen to that, this seems to work just fine. So maybe we might need to back out and create something fresh and new. I think I might do that rather than waiting for this in this live stream, and it'd be driving me nuts. So let's see how long it will take us to create a new app. So I'm going to go in here and start with the page design. I'm going to go with a blank canvas. Let's see how long it takes to do this. So that was good. And BKJ, I appreciate you doing these trainings. Well, you're welcome. Yeah. So if you look in the video description of this video, I've got a link to my free community. I offer a free crash course and a place to ask me and my staff questions, and we try to make sure every question is answered. So sometimes YouTube comments or comments on social media really isn't the greatest place to answer people's questions and get to the bottom of what's going on. So I invite you guys all to join the community, get the free crash course, and interact with us more there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. This is no good. So let's sort of take a step back here. And so I've got some code that works really well in my Jumpstart kit. Okay. And what I'm going to do, let's say this is the loading screen. So that's the first table. I'm sorry, the first screen, not a table. And we'll create one called home screen. And instead of putting everything in app OnStart, which we could do, I want to put that in this loading screen. So I'll go over here to the onVisible and I'll put this code that I have here. And we're going to pull in this app user. So let's look at our data source. So we've got all these different fields here. And you know what I was thinking this morning, Matt? I was thinking to myself, why wouldn't you put a column in here that points to another staff member or another user that's the manager?
Right.
How cool would that
be?
Good
idea.
Yeah. Let's see here. And I'm going to say manager ID. Now, what we could do is say manager email. Now, almost all the time, I always use these IDs, which are auto numbers in SharePoint. But if you have an email address, it keeps you from having to do another lookup to another table, or in this case, the same table, and then getting at the email address so you could go look those guys up over in the a connector like we're using. So that is a possibility. We could store both. Now, realize there are times when I look at a certain scenario within Power Apps and I think to myself, we might need to denormalize data. We might need to stray just a little bit away from good programming practice just to make our app work better because we're a little limited with a low code, no code platform. Yeah. So Kenneth asked if I could copy the code of the chat. I will try to do that. If it's long, I don't know how that would look, here in, the YouTube live stream. But what code are you talking about? Or Matt, would you know what code he's talking about?
He's referring to the loading screen you just made.
Oh, yeah, that code that I just pasted there. Yeah. Let me go get, this is really disappointing. I'm going to start off again, new, because I actually had some really good code in there. And that's the code that I want to paste over for you, Kenneth. Now, let me show you a place. If you have access, let me go over here to the free school community. And by the way, I'm starting a new school community called the Microsoft Stack. What's covered in the Microsoft Stack? Pretty much everything that you would deal with in the information technology field in your Microsoft
whole
shop.
enchilada.
Yeah. Windows, Azure, all kinds of, Azure covers a lot of different stuff, but you got SQL Server, .NET, Power Platform, SharePoint, Copilot, So I already do have some good video content that goes over things that aren't the Power Platform. So I thought I'd start publishing this stuff out here. And now I'm sort of wondering, I want you guys' feedback on this. The audience, the viewership here on this channel, are you guys interested in the things that aren't so much Power Platform? Because I don't want to sort of divide my audience and people, not be interested in those type of videos and maybe stop watching any future content that I make, even for the Power Platform, you know? So I thought I'd mention that and maybe start getting some of your feedback. And El Tigre 305 says hello. Well, hello to you, sir or ma'am.
It's good to see you.
Now, if I remember my Spanish right, L is well, I'm not gonna talk about gender here. We don't talk about politics or anything controversial on this channel at all. So I'm not even gonna ask that. Um, so so I just wanted to mention this community here. Um, okay, where was I going with that? That sort of derailed my whole thought
We're talking
process.
about the stack, Microsoft stack, and
Yeah,
possibly deviating from Microsoft
yeah. So I'd
content.
love to hear you guys' feedback on that. Now, if I go over to Classroom, well, I clicked on Classroom and it thought I wanted to do a new post. Now, if we go in here and you go into the ticketing system course, there is a video here. Let me go back. I'm hoping that the thumbnail comes up. So automatically add user data. So this was, let me see if this is actually in. No, it's not in YouTube. I think originally it was in YouTube, but this is an hour video where I show how to automatically add users as they use the app. So I'd sort of like to have that in our app. That's something I want in all of my apps. And I'm going to try to go into the project. I am going to override that, and I just know that I need to something I'm worried about, Matt. If you look at my app formulas,
Hmm.
how much code do I have in app formulas? Do you have any idea?
Oh, something like 15,000 lines of code.
You're right. You
Yeah,
Man, you're remembering things, man. What's the ASCII code character for a line feed?
10.
Wow. All right. 15,686 lines of code in my app formulas.
Nice.
I don't think I would recommend that.
Oh yeah.
I've got tons of icons down here. Okay. And what I need to do is put that into a database and not just keep it here. I don't need all that stuff in memory. I don't know if it loads everything up into memory like this. I would imagine it probably does because, I mean, this is just one block of code. It would be sort of nice if I could create classes. Now, Matt, when you were in school, you probably did some Java or some Python in which you would have separate files for each of your classes or your screens or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I'm sort of hoping they'll eventually allow us to do that. So over here in the tree view, what would be great, say we got an app object. If I go in here, I've got a host object and I got a bunch of screens. And then over here, I got a bunch of data sources. Well, why can't I have a grouping of formulas, you know? And maybe if I call a function from that module
Hmm.
or that component, it would load that up when I needed it, you know? That would be
Right.
cool. So
Yeah.
eventually I need to get all that code into a database. So I'm not going to try to use this project because I think that might be what's slowing it down.
Okay.
Now, I did go into the loading screen just like I did in the screen we're working with here. And look at that.
Hmm.
That is unfortunate. So if I go over here, it's telling me I have a delegation problem, but it won't show me the code.
I don't think
I
I was able
wonder,
to.
huh?
I don't think I was able to save from last night because there was
Yeah.
also in one of your components we had changed it from a function to an action,
Uh-huh.
and it still says function right now. So
You're right. You're right. Absolutely right. Now, if we go over here, I think we created, look at this. Thought we created a function in here
yeah,
and a function here. So it's not showing any of that.
yeah,
Again, that's disappointing. Because we did a lot of work. I'm going to try
all
to,
of our hard work
that's right.
gone.
I'll tell you what. Because I could go from the code that I have from my ticketing system or my jumpstart kit and show it here and we could use it, but realize we have a bunch of fields here within our ERD diagram. Now we did add the manager ID. Now, if this was a good ERD diagram, I would say, hey, this needs to go up here. Does it allow me? Wow, it does.
Mm, cool.
I like that. Recursion, or what would you call that? A recursive relationship, perhaps. So also we're setting this project up so that we could have preferences that could be set for individual users. And this is the mapping table in the middle that will keep track of that. All right, I'm going to go back here. Oh, and it's still closing it, Matt. Oh, this project file has become a disappointment to me.
You have disappointed me for the last time.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral. Star Wars quote. Oh, yeah. By the way, I know we're all nerds here, right?
Oh, we better be.
We're nerds, right?
Oh,
have
yeah.
Have you seen the new series on Disney Plus called Acolyte?
Oh, no, I haven't had time yet. No.
It's pretty, I sort of like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but
this might be a little controversial. But
okay, thank you, Matt.
I am disappointed in all the new stuff.
Yeah.
All the Disney stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Let's see.
Okay, you're a Star Wars man. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Matt, I'm expecting, now that I know that, I'm expecting random Star Wars quotes.
All right.
So if I say Matt, I'm going to try to open this project, and what you would say is,
may the force be with you.
There is no try. There's only do.
Oh yeah, that you could go that route too, yeah.
And Matt, I just feel like I got this sense that you're my Padawan right now. Okay. Totally. This is what happens, guys, if you have too much fun with Power Apps. You just make silly jokes that really aren't funny. So let's look at this code that we have here that we started yesterday. We have a with block, and we went out to this connector. Now we need to add this new connector to this brand new fresh project. Okay, I'm going to go into connectors, and let's go find that. Well, gee whiz. It is right there. Maybe I needed a space in there. 365. Yeah, I guess so. Now, here's a question, Matt. Are they going to start to rename all this stuff to M365 instead of Office 365?
It's probably on their to-do list for sure.
It's probably in their backlog in Azure DevOps as a little Kanban board item.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Dark Neffy says yes.
Right to me.
So, is that to the Microsoft Stack stuff? So if I create a whole series on SQL Server that may or may not be related to Power Apps, would you guys be interested in that on this channel? Or should I create a new channel called the Microsoft Stack? All right, I'm going to open this back up. So now we don't have any errors calling this now. Okay. And so what I do here is I'm looking at this database table. Everybody snicker that I call it a SharePoint list of database table. A DBA would laugh at that. You know what's funny is SharePoint uses SQL Server as a backend, so it probably actually is a database table within SharePoint.
Oh, then you go technically.
Technically, Bob, Mr. DBA.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit him with that technically. Then, oh, you know the meme where it's a bunch of judges, they got all their papers, and they're like, "You are technically correct," which is the best form of correct.
The best form of correct, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's saying yes about Star Wars. Yeah, so they feel the same as well. Okay. Yeah,
I'm among my people then.
Yeah, we're all a part of one tribe here. If you guys love Power Apps and you like to dig into the nitty-gritty details, you have found your clan and we have found you. So join us and together we will rule the galaxy together. And then insert a GIF of, what's that guy's name? The Emperor Palpatine?
Palpatine, yeah.
Unlimited power with Power Apps.
Yeah.
I use that all the time when I talk about Power Apps within Teams. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have this app user. So we need to pull in this stuff. So we have app user preference, and we have app preference. So we need those three tables at the very least. Let's pull those in to this fresh new app. I'm glad I was able to figure out something is awry, something is afoot in that other project, and I've got to sort of fix that. So Ultimate Power Apps Template is the name of the SharePoint site, and I'm going to pull in app preference, app user preference, pull those three in. Okay. So now, now we do get a delegation warning here, and I don't want you guys to be spooked by delegation issues. Let me try to make ourselves smaller so we can see the code a little better. Okay, so we'll hover over this delegation warning. The highlighted part of this formula might not work correctly on large data sets. The count rows operation is not supported by this connector. Okay, so here within this app, we have a data row limit of 500. We could increase that to 2,000. I wouldn't increase that unless you got a really good reason to, because for every single data source, it's going to go try out and get up to 2,000 if you put it up there to 2,000. I would say 500 is probably good enough, unless you really, really need to have more. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm checking to see if the current user, you see I'm using the user function and I'm looking at its email. Well, over here in this database table, snicker, we have a field called user email in the SharePoint list, and we match those up. So what I'm trying to do is check to see if they're there. If they're not there, then I'm going to patch using defaults, which means I'm going to add the record. Now, do you think we'll ever find, now we were using is blank and is empty. We were trying that out yesterday, and it was still giving us weird problems. Now, what I've done in the past is I do this. I do a filter where I know there should only be either be 0 records or 1 record. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to find out. And is blank was giving me problems yesterday, so this has always worked for me, so that's what I use. Now, whenever you get a delegation warning, you ask yourself, well, the number of records that's returned by all this, let's say there was no delegation warning, it could delegate everything. Will there ever be more than 500 returned from this? No, it's either going to return 0 or 1, because if they're not there, we're going to insert it once with this patch. And if they are there, then we'll update that record, not insert a new one. Okay, cool. That's cool. Yeah, we're all nerds.
Yeah.
Who all here plays with or used to play with Legos?
Oh yeah,
I know
for
I did.
sure.
I loved Legos, building things. And you know what? This is sort of like we're playing Legos here with Power Apps. We're building our own little we got all these little
Yeah.
Legos like a button and a label and a gallery. We're putting all this together to create something really cool looking,
Yeah, that's cool. I
Okay.
like that.
So we're pulling this in.
So I feel like we should say that one more time because I think
Mhm.
that was really good. So
It was
whenever you
profound.
think about, yes, profound. That's what I was trying to say. uh, so whenever you're dealing with a delegation warning or error,
Uh-huh.
ask yourself, what now?
Okay, whenever you say that, I ask myself, quote, self, will this result set ever be close to the max that I've set? So that could be 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. And the answer to that is no. We're only going to get 0 or 1 record here. So this delegation warning doesn't scare me at all. But if you're doing account rows on the app users to see how many users you have in the organization, you could have 10,000. You could be working for a large enterprise that has thousands of employees or contractors or staff around the world. So if we were just going to filter to see how many people we had, that would not be what you'd want to do here. But we're just checking to see if they're there. Now, if you look at this filter, this is delegable. Okay, where we do a filter and we say a text field equals this text field. It's completely delegable. So SharePoint can handle that query A-OK.
Cool.
So we're going to ignore that warning, but that warning will always sit there. I wish there was a way to tell Power Apps like, yes, this delegation issue is completely fine. So it does not show up in your little app checker, your app checker. Do you see this little doctor stethoscope up here? So it shows us all the issues going on. Let's go into formulas. Okay, name isn't valid. Yeah, we do need to fix that. The warnings. Okay, the warnings are down here. Delegation warning. So over time, you might see a bunch of warnings here, but if somebody else comes in your app like, oh, we need to do a code review on your app, Matt, and they see 15 warnings, like, oh, you need to fix those. Well, maybe that software architect doesn't understand Power Apps, or the guy that's trying to do that. Because anybody who knows how this delegation stuff works, there are some cases where you just can't get rid of the warning, and it's completely fine. So I thought I'd mention that. Okay, so let's go back to our code and see what's causing the problem here. So we have app user here, and we do have a global setup. Now, we didn't really call this global properly. We should say GBL current user. Okay, so we're going to patch this, and I'm going to hover over this. The department does not match the expected type. The type that was found is error. Okay. So let's go look at department here.
Oh,
I
the
forgot to
property.
that needs to be a lowercase d, right? Is that what you're about to say?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And I remember that because we fixed that last time. It's just our
And
fix
every time
didn't
we tried to
save.
save, it would just
Yeah.
hang, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's all these things that we already fixed, but it just didn't save last
Yeah.
night. So
Well, it sort of makes things go more smoothly in this live stream.
cool.
And by the way, guys, I did include links in the video description if you're interested in the part 1 of this workshop that we did yesterday afternoon. By the way, every Friday afternoon we do a workshop.
Yep.
And almost every, like if I take a vacation or something, then maybe not, but I really don't take a lot of vacations. Right? You know that. I don't take a lot of vacations. Um, so if you want to get at that, it's just $25 a month. Now you could just do it for 1 month. There's no commitment, there's no contract. You sign up for 1 month, $25, and you could cancel right after you do it. And then you'll get access to all the past workshops. Now, what type of workshops have we done so far, Matt? Can you list them all off?
Oh no. But we're on like 18. So
Yeah,
we've done like everything from themes and colors to complex patching. There's a
yeah.
basics workshop.
Sports fantasy app. We have
Yeah.
common
Delegation.
template features that we'd want to have in all of our apps. Delegation. So we talked quite a bit about delegation in that workshop. Modernizing your app. So let's say you got an old crusty app and you need to bring it into 2024. Maybe you wrote it back in 2017, right when Power Apps came out, and you need to fix a lot of old crusty stuff in there. So that particular workshop helps
Yeah,
with that.
maybe you got too much stuff in your app OnStart and you gotta
Yeah.
clean that out before Microsoft does
Um,
it for you.
yeah. Okay, I need to make sure that's maybe I'll have you do that, Matt. Make sure that this now if I go in here, I think I started putting them all here as separate things, but
Mhm.
then I'm like, no, this is going to get too long because we do one
Yeah,
a week, and in a year we're going to have 50 of them sitting out here, and
yeah,
then over 2 years we're going to have 100. So you're just going to be scrolling and scrolling looking for the one that you want.
yeah.
So I was thinking about breaking up per year. So we've got all kinds of stuff in here. So also this is a full list of them. The very first one was a decision tree type of app. We did paid time off app, approval workflow, designing data. So this was a good workshop in which we would define a good database schema for relational data. We were gonna, you and I we're thinking about doing basics for this week's, and then I realized I'm like, Matt, we already have a basic workshop out here. Now maybe we could do a part 2 to that sometime.
Yeah.
Collections, freelancing, UI, UX design, complex patching, dashboards, adding more features to our template, app formulas, mastering color, modernizing your app, delegation, common features, so on and so forth. And then this one should be up here. Let me move that up there. There we go. And maybe I will put a carriage return there. And maybe make the color default. There we go. So we got a lot of stuff out there. Let's go back to our app here. And let's see what's going on. So I made the D in department lowercase and office location. And we probably did the same thing for office location, right? I think it's called office location.
Yeah.
There we go. And we fixed that yesterday too, didn't we?
Yep.
And I'm going to call this user.
Oh boy, you're rolling the dice here.
No kidding. User profile, org chart, app. I want to put a forward slash. I don't think I can do forward slashes there. But that's what I'm going to name it. And I'll be sure to share this with you guys over in the school environment where I can attach files and all kinds of stuff. I can't attach files into YouTube. So this looks like this is going to work. So we've got this global variable here. And then, so if it's not there, we're going to add the record. And then if it is there, well, let's do a little comma. And let's go do a lookup right here. And also we probably need that, a set. And I'm using Windows V instead of Control V. And that's going to give me some good stuff here. Now, don't need that. There we go. Okay, now we've got another error. What is the error here? Incompatible types can evaluate formula because the context variable types are incompatible with the type of values in other places in your app. Okay, well, we're trying to filter. Instead of doing a filter, we should do a lookup. So this global current user is a record type, and we know that because we click on it, and you'll see record, not a table, not a collection. It's a record. So that's why it was complaining. And as you remember, this is our loading screen, so we can put all of our stuff to load things up in here. Now, I think we need another parenthesis. Put a semicolon there, and now we should be good. Now, if you have a lot of lines of code and it's telling you there's an error in here, like, where is it at? Well, you should see little bitty red squares here on the scroll bar. So let me zoom in on that scroll bar there, not that one, but this one. So we see like a bronze color, a copper color, and then we've got a little gray one there. If there's any errors, it would appear in red.
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right, I am going to go to home, the home screen. If I go back to loading, it will actually execute that that code that we have. So let's see if it's really here. Let's go in and let's add in an image. And we'll say, welcome, Mr. Person. And so we'll say, hello, neighbor, GBL current user dot photo base 64. And there we go. All right. So I bet you if I were to add a classic label, I like classic labels, not modern labels yet, because we can't change border, can't change the fill. And here we can say, hello, GBL title will be the full name. Look at that. I'll probably need to make it bigger, maybe like 30 or so. So you can see that that works.
Nice.
Now, what I almost want to do is create a new screen that will allow them to update their profile information. So let's do that now. Now, I think my toddler's trying to beat down my door here. Do you guys hear that? Hopefully not.
I
Okay,
didn't
that's
hear
good. Okay, if I add a new screen, I'm going to call this user profile screen. So we can see all this information. I'm going to take that image and that label. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to go in here. And let's make this a little smaller. Hello, Darren Neese. And you know what else we could do?
What's that?
We could go over here. And on this screen, we got all these little labels here. What's nice about this new feature they added, if you right click and say copy, you can get at the YAML code and then you can paste it in another app. That is huge.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've got all this information and we might want to have that over there, to be honest. So let's get all this and all of this. Maybe it's not going to allow me to select both of them. Nope. All right. I'll start with this and I'll say right click, copy YAML code. And I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to paste it there. Nope. I'm going to paste the code. Uh-oh, Matt.
I
There we
think it's finally waking up. It looks like it's waking up.
I think because this app doesn't have
Oh,
15,686 lines of code in the app formulas.
okay. That's what it was then.
This is where you say, that's typical Darren.
Yeah.
It's typical Darren mode. He's got thousands of lines of code in his app formulas. So yeah, I wouldn't advise people to do that. Eventually, what I had in mind was putting that in a database. I just haven't done that yet. Okay. So there are some of these properties that can be changed and some that cannot be. So let's sort of explore that. So I'm going to grab these. I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy the YAML code, go back here, and I'm going to say paste YAML. Okay. And you know what we could do? We could replace these labels with text boxes. We could do that. Mm-hmm.
That's where going into the YAML would really help, right? Because you're trying to change the control, but not the information.
So what correlation you're making between YAML code and the controls?
Well, remember you showed us bringing it into the VS
Oh, the
environment,
VS Code?
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can do this for you guys. Okay, so if I had a bunch of these, and these are all labels right here, right click, copy YAML code. And I'm trying to bring over, nope, that's my Outlook. Nobody wants to see how much of a mess my Outlook is. Here's all the YAML. Label, 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 label. And you'll see we got text, boom, office location. And then this other one is office location. Pulls that in. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'll use this screen to display information. Now, what I'm wondering is which ones did we leave out yesterday? So we've got about me, city, company name, which is right there. I guess I don't have company name set within my Azure AD or Intra. country, department, display name, given name, and then we've got ID, job title, mail, nickname, mobile phone, 8675309. That should be a popular, that should ring a bell, right? My site. So if somebody wants to check out my website within the organization, I guess that would be my personal website. Office location, that's pulled in. But there are a few that we did not include. I'd sort of like to add them here now that we have got a little bit more time. Office location, postal code, preferred language. And then we have preferred name. Okay, now we did leave out state. So let's put the state in there. I'm going to bring these down. Copy paste. Okay. Now I don't think that those are right up against that. There we go. So after preferred name, we want state. So we'll grab
R
that.
has a question.
Yeah?
A little bit outside of the workshop, but he wants to know how to connect data from Power BI table into Power Apps.
Well, here's a question to you. Where is the data that Power BI is pulling it from? So as soon as you can answer that, you could just connect to it, just like the Power BI did. Now, I'm not a Power BI expert, and I wouldn't even say I'm a Power BI intermediate type of a person. I haven't done hardly any Power BI, but I think just my natural thinking here of, it's got to be sitting in a data source. It might be Excel, it might be SharePoint list or SQL Server or somewhere else. So you would just want to use a connector for the type of data source that's being pulled in your Power BI. Yeah. So we have state. Now we need street address. Everybody's going to find out where I live now. 101 Main Street. Okay. What about surname? Let's copy this for the surname. And you guys should notice something here. Whenever we get a profile with this connector, all of the property names start with a lowercase and they're camel case. Sometimes I can mess you up. User principal name. Oh, well, that's right down here. So I'm going to take out the skills. Now, I don't know if you guys can read this, but for my skills, I do have nunchuck skills and power app skills. Of course, both with a Z, which means they're mad skills.
Yeah, that's next level.
All right, we got surname, user principal name, user type, account enabled. Okay, that is not in there. So I'm going to grab 4 of these. Maybe I'll have to do 3 at a time. We'll run out of space. Let's put this little photo up here. Take that out. Let's move all this stuff up. All right. I think we almost got them all. So user type account enabled. Grab that, put it there. Birthday. Ooh, I was born at the beginning of time at 3:03 a.m. Okay, we got birthday, business phones. Okay, notice that's plural. That's going to give us a table value. What do we do with the table value? We go down here and we use concat on that. So let's do that for our business phones.
Nice.
8675309. Okay, after business phones, we have hire date.
Oh, you know
Hey.
something else?
What?
I mean, we don't have to for, but something else I thought of.
Uh-huh.
Emergency contact.
Ooh.
Lots of. I mean, I think it's pretty standard now.
It is. And almost everywhere I've worked, they've always asked for my emergency information.
Yeah, in case you like have a stroke at work or something.
Yeah, I try to connect PBI from Power Apps, but there's no option to choose workspace. Do you have any other idea on how I can retrieve data from PBI? I might be able to answer this fairly quickly and comprehensively. So let's see here. Let me see if I can. Wonder if I could copy that somehow. I think I know how. Give me 1 second. Now, guys, what I use for AI a lot of times is perplexity.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give perplexity a chance here. And of course I have to, let's see what we got here. New thread. And what perplexity does is it searches the internet for the answer and uses AI to extrapolate everything. Okay, let's see what it says. Use the Power BI visual in Power BI. Use Power Apps visual in Power BI. Add the Power Apps visual. Okay, so here's all this stuff. And now I'm not going to go over this because that's not really what this live stream is about, but I will share this with you guys. Okay, and I will put that right there, and hopefully you can get at it. Now, Matt, if you click on that link, does it come up okay for you?
Let me see. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, very good.
That's good.
Ian Grant says, where my mind is at is that instead of a user profile cards pulling from a staff database, we could also apply this to customer supplier database with a oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like product description, ID, maybe it's weight for shipping and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think in this case, what they're talking about is whenever you have a person, in your database, and they're not an employee, they're not a staff member. They could be a vendor, they could be a customer,
Oh,
supplier, I would
right.
say vendor, where they have like information like that. Hey, what's their cell phone? What's all their business? Create your own little CRM,
Yeah, that too. Yep.
Very cool. I like these ideas. All right, so we got hire date. What about interests? Well, interests is sort of like skills. I'm going to copy and paste that. I'm going to put it up here. And I'm going to say interest. Let's find out what Darren's interest. Oh, World of Warcraft. Okay, what about past projects?
Classic.
Have I worked on any projects here within the organization? Let's find out. Past projects. The onboarding project. That doesn't surprise me. Responsibilities is there and the skills. So now we've got them all. And what I think I'd like to do, if you guys don't mind, is I want to move these. I think I'm going to copy those. I'm going to create a new screen because they're all in alphabetical order right now, and I don't want to mess that up. Uh-oh. Okay. Now I can make the height. So if you see, I've got a little URL that has a little scroll bar. I don't really want that. Let's make this have a height of 50. And that's sort of going to mess that up. So I'm just going to take that back out. Okay. So we have all these. They're alphabetical. I'm going to go in there. Copy this. And why not get the profile photo there. All right. I'm going to move this up. Come on. Wow. It's not really helping me out too much here. Okay. Let's make this 80 by 80. I wanted a perfect square. I'll take all these guys and maybe move them underneath. Oop, come on. I'm going to set up the X to be something like 50. No, I think I messed that up. Erase. Control Z. This is where the undo is awful, huh? I'm going to delete those, go back here, get the first column, copy, go over here, paste. Come on. Pull this over, and we'll put it around there. Get all these, pull them up so they're side by side. All right, there we go.
All right.
So these are all the pieces of information we can pull. Okay.
Ian's full of ideas, ready to make his own app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Exactly.
Yeah.
CRM and also things like contract ID, location, headquarters, parent company, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But something that you might want to do if you're really interested in that is go look at Dataverse. it comes from the Dynamics 365 world. So it already has accounts, contacts, all that type of stuff. So you could, I find their schema a little over engineered, and it's probably been created or designed for large enterprises that can hold anything, but it's a little bit much. Like even in their context, they got address, like address 1, line 1, and then you got address 2 and address 3. It's like, wow, if you're going to have that normalized, wouldn't you want that into a different table? I'm really not impressed with how that data is set up. And
R
that's my
is
2 cents.
asking how often do we broadcast? It's his first time or
Oh,
their
really?
first time joining. So
Yeah. So we go live every Saturday morning, typically at 10 a.m. EST, like we did today. And now I do have an accelerator program where you can work with me almost every day of the week. So Mondays we meet up to work on the template. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are sort of like office hours. You can ask all kinds of questions about your projects or anything that you want to talk about regarding, Power Apps or anything else that I know that would be relevant. So same thing on, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is for that. Friday afternoons are workshops, and then Saturday is the live stream, and Sunday we take off. So that's how often we do stuff. And we try to do stuff in between as well. Okay, so we got all this stuff. And what I would want to do is have text boxes for all these. But this is just that information. You know what we should do is create a new screen with just the information that we want to update. Because if we sat here and created, I mean, my thought wasn't to create a field for everything that's in 365. Chances are you're not going to need all the office locations being displayed in a gallery. You could go, you can use a connector to go off and get that, at some point. But we just wanted this information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this ERD diagram up here. Now I did provide the ERD diagram link in the video description. So yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to create a new screen here. And what we will do is for each of these, I'll say a label. So we got a label, and then we got a text input. Okay. We'll call this display name to the user. But when they input this, we're actually going to put it in the title. And we're going to blank that out. And then we do have hint text. We could say full name or nickname. I don't know about telling people they can put their nickname in there. It could be completely unrelated to your name, and then somebody in the organization looks at it, it's like, who's Frank the Tank?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll put their photo here. And we'll show how to update that. Now for these labels, let's take out the left padding. Go full screen, and I'm going to make us smaller. Okay. Now something I think I might do is go into settings and turn on the, the thing. Display.
Yeah.
Where are the modern controls when you need them, huh? Right there. Because if I'm working here without my Ultimate Jumpstart kit or any template that I have, this is a lot better than the classic themes, because we can
Right.
create our own at least. Do you have any workshops that talk about using Power Automate in your Power Apps? Now, I do have a module and a few lessons on Power Automate. Right now, those are available in the for the accelerator students. However, if you do a search for Dernice and Power Automate Crash Course, I think that you will find something out on YouTube on that. Matt, if you don't mind, do a search for that and try to find that. It was with Mary Magellan.
Okay. No problem.
And then, okay, I'm going to go with this purple. I think I might like that, the purple there. And then for the border color, what are we doing here? We do have a border of 2. So if I run this, we are using that purple color, I believe. Yeah. All right, so we got display name. And I'm going to make its width the same thing. Let's do like 200 there. Okay. Maybe a little more room. There we go, 300. And then I'm going to copy and paste that. Now, chances are we don't want to allow people to change their email address. Let's see what we have here. And I'm going to call this for the user M365 user email.
Okay.
All right.
I found
You
the
found it?
Power Automate Crash Course.
There you go.
I
Yeah, so let's
think I
get
only
that.
have access to private chat.
Yeah. All right, so I'll
There we
paste it
go.
over there. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Mary did an excellent job with that. Okay, and then for these labels, what I want to do is go into the app dot theme dot colors dot primary. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Interesting. And I'm sort of hoping, I mean, is that really a purple color? That looks like a really dark purple color to me.
No, it's purple.
Now for these labels, I almost want the labels to be more like 30. Down arrow, there we go. Okay, so we have that. What about an alternate email? Now, something we should probably do is get rid of all the hint text. The hint text will be different for all this. So I'm going to say Microsoft email address. And instead of display name here, this will be first name, last name.
Now the user's going to complain about having to put their full name and then their first name and their last name.
They will. That's what users do. They make our lives interesting, right?
Interesting.
Now, what we can do, we can go into the default and sort of try to help them out a little bit. So we'll do that. First name, last name, intra ID. Now, you don't want the user to be entering their enter ID. They have no idea what their enter ID is, so we're not even going to ask for it. We just know it.
And they just enter it incorrectly anyway. So
Yeah. Now, HR notes and IT notes, we're not going to share that with the users. We could have them choose a personal identification number, a PIN. So let's copy these guys. PIN. Now for the PIN, I'll say 4-digit number. And then instead of text, what we want to do is we want to go down here and say password. So if I say, well, my PIN is 9999, I could click on it, and that's this eyeball thing. That's a part of the browser. So that doesn't seem to be working. Now you can make it, let's say 4 to 6 digit number. And then over here in max length, we would say 6. So they cannot enter anything more than 6 digits there. The next thing that we have is Office.
Sorry, Emo's got an interesting question.
Yeah.
Fields from the table that are unique could maybe be auto-populated via trigger, since it will be a unique for each row ID, right?
So using SharePoint, and I don't know if you're using SharePoint Emo or not, but there's an ID in every SharePoint list, and it's an auto number, and you don't get to set it. And so if I go into this, you'll notice my ID is 8 because we kept on adding myself yesterday and deleting. So now,
yeah.
So there's no way to do. Then that is the unique identifier.
You're the
Now sometimes I will.
Iteration.
What's that?
You're the 8th iteration of Darrenese.
That's right. Darrenese version 8, 8.0.
8.0.
Now user email is unique. Now we do have an employee ID. So if your company has a specific employee ID for HR, whatever purposes, you could put it there if you want. There's my enter ID. So we've got all kinds of stuff we could do here. Yeah, if you wanted to create your own, now you don't have triggers in SharePoint list, but you do have Power Automate. And you could have a trigger there that would like, hey, when this thing was created, you could create maybe a GUID. Now, Dataverse does use GUIDs or unique identifiers, which are hexadecimal numbers all the way across, and that's the unique identifier there. And then over in SQL Server, you could have auto numbers called identity, and you could also have a unique you could have a GUID in there, and it's called unique identifier. So just to let you know about all that. All right, so after the PIN, we have got office location. Let's do that. Office location.
Emo has a follow-up.
Huh?
Emo has a follow-up.
All right.
What they mean is if the primary key is a unique series, there may also be unique variables like email. Could be set to unique. So if a user puts in their email, it can automatically populate first, last name. So,
well, if you think about it, what we have in this app, so maybe you're talking about a different app, but if you're building it the way that I'm suggesting to do it, here on this first screen, it's automatically populating all this stuff. And that ID is the primary key. Now you could, and what you'd want to do if you wanted to do a lot of searching on the user email, you probably want to put an index on the view, the SharePoint view. Now, are you using SharePoint email or what data source are you using? Because I can give you more specific information about what you're talking about, give you a little bit more context. Right. There may also be unique variables, like email could be set to unique. Yeah, so if a user puts in their email, it can automatically populate. So, okay, you notice that we put in enter ID and user email. there are 4 things. Let's actually go over to the screen and let's do a little revisit. I do have a video out on this, but let's put in here a label, classic label, and let's look at what we have available to us. There are, how many properties can we get at, Matt, with the user function?
As many as are in the table, right? Or the data source.
The user function within Power Apps
Oh,
has how many properties?
I
Can,
I don't know.
okay, we'll hit dot. 4.
Okay.
For years
Only
it was
4.
3, but now we have 4. So look at these 4. Full name, you could have 2 John Smiths in an organization. So I would not recommend looking things up based on full name. Emails are fairly unique within an organization, or are absolutely unique, unless you have a distribution list where people share it or they have a shared mailbox, that type of thing, right? But this email is going to give you an email address. Nobody else has this email address within the tenant. Okay. And then you could also search for intra object ID. Those are the 2 unique identifiers for a user. So whenever they first come in, we'll see if they're in the database table, we'll put them in. And if we ever need to look up a specific user, you could do a search for intra ID, you could do a search for the email, and you could also search for SharePoint's ID column that they have in every list. Okay. PG. But also, I just joined the stream. I'll keep watching and learning. I really don't know what we're building yet. So what we're building here is a screen for users to see and update their profile information. And then we will store whatever they type in here. We can update the SharePoint list as well as Intra, as well as Azure AD. Okay, so I'm going to put this little ID up here so you know that we pulled it in. Now, if we were to reference, we have a global variable, GBL, current user, dot, intra ID. There it is as well. So within all these controls, what we're going to do is we're going to pull in that global. Okay. So after office location, oh, Postgres. Okay. Yeah, Postgres is a good enterprise database system. I know it's open source. It's non-Microsoft. You do have a connector here for Postgres. It would help if I
Really?
spelling it right. Postgres SQL. Now it is a premium connector. Okay.
With it being premium, does that mean you just have to buy a extra license or something?
You need to purchase a premium license for Power Apps. So let's go to powerapps.com real quick. Let's look at pricing. We can get a Power Apps developer plan. That's free. But yeah, if you want to use the premium connectors, the premium features, $20 a month. And I guess if you have over 2,000, you can get that as low as $12 a month. Okay, so there's all the pricing information. I'll share that link with you guys.
Interesting.
I actually have an accelerator student that just signed up this week, and he's wanting to use Postgres. So, but he's also wanting to have a local copy, like in his office. I don't think there's a database gateway for that.
Hmm.
I'm sure you could have a Postgres database out in cloud services like Amazon Web Services or Azure. Azure is the one I prefer because it's Microsoft. I deal with Microsoft technology, so why not, right? Okay, after office location, we have department. Okay. Okay, and we need to change this. Whenever you do a lot of copy and pasting like I did to create this, you need to make sure that you go back and rename things.
Yeah.
So I've got display name, first name, last name, pin, office location. Okay, that's good. Oh my goodness. My toddler is throwing large items down the stairs.
Oh no.
And we've got hardwood floors, so you can really hear it. When I speak to my IT team about premium features of Power Apps, they start sweating. Yeah, IT departments just haven't really caught up with the Power Platform. And when you start talking about the Power Platform stuff, they're like, can you just do that in Excel? Let's not mess with that. Every place I've gone to helped out, even large enterprises, they don't have anybody that manages the the Power Platform. And let's say they get voluntold that they are the person that will manage that, and then they'll start asking, okay, how do I set this up? What permissions do you need? That type of thing. So it's really unfortunate that IT in general just doesn't keep up with this new stuff. I mean, the Power Platform's been out for a few years now, And the thing is, IT department likes to tell people no. I don't like to tell people no, but I've worked in IT departments a lot. And even when I worked in IT, they like to tell me no. And even when they say yes, they're going to lock you down so tight with security restrictions that you can barely get it to work. And I had a saying at this one place I worked here in Florida is like, if you can do your job, we're not secure enough. We need to implement so much security that it is a pain in the rear to implement a solution because that would make it that much harder on hackers, right? They really think I should stick to SharePoint and non-premium. I guess my idea sounds expensive. Well, the question is, Ian, how many users are going to be using your application? Let's say you create something awesome and you're just creating it for your department. And then some manager, some director sees it and they're like, oh, I want the whole organization to use this. And let's say you use Dataverse or Postgres or SQL Server, use it in a premium connection or a premium feature. And in my case, when I worked for the state of Florida, they had over 10,000 staff, and a lot of them were contractors, and so anyway, you think about that pricing. Okay, either 20 or this is something new that I've seen, $12 a month. Now multiply that by 10,000. Matt, what is that?
10,000? Be
10,000
120,000?
times 12.
Be 120,000?
Is that right?
I hope so.
That's right. 120,000.
Okay, cool.
Times 12 months in a year. That's 1,440,000. $1.4 million a year. So, as you can imagine, your CTO and your people on IT, they probably know that there's not a budget for it, maybe. What I proposed to them was about 200 to 300 users with all about 2,000 rows of data in each of the database table, about 30 data columns. Yeah. What the best advice I can give you is it's hard to convince managers and executives to like, hey, let's commit to hundreds of thousands of dollars on this idea. Like, I'm going to create an app. And they're like, what? They're going to say, go learn C#. And then you're not going to like your life so much. Now, I do like C#, but it just takes a lot longer to do apps. So if they're breathing down your neck to get the app done, I would rather be working with something like Power Apps so I can whip it out quickly. But what I would recommend doing is use the license they give you. It's probably included with your N365 license. Use Power Apps, use SharePoint, but create something amazing, something they feel like they can't do without. And say, oh, you like that? Just imagine if you give me a premium license, what I could do.
Right.
And then they'll actually start giving it thought. I'm like, oh, we need to like think about this. This is serious, But people just come up with an idea, as pie in the sky, not sure if we're even going to like it once we do it. We don't want to be locked into paying Microsoft $1.4 million. Yeah. So this is a good conversation. I like this.
Yeah.
All right. We got department. Where's the last field here? Do I have department? Office location. Yeah, department's in there. Now I need job title and then a manager. Now you don't want users to come in and say, oh, I want, like, let's say, Matt, you and I, we worked on the same team, and I say to Matt, hey, I'm going to make you my manager and you make me your manager. So if anybody emails us to complain, we'll say, okay, we'll take care of that. No, he's a good guy. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So we're probably not going to put the manager in here. This is for
Yeah.
the users.
Yeah.
So these are the
Ken,
things that we want them to edit, perhaps.
Kenneth asks, can you zoom in real quick?
Oh, absolutely. Let me do F11. Let me. How much is this? What's the percentage on this? I'm at 150 now. Now the question is, what do you want to see?
I think maybe just the text labels. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you hit Control 0, it'll either zoom in or zoom out the canvas.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of full screen mode just really quick, and I think maybe 110 might be good. And then go back to full screen. That should give us some good stuff here. All right. So we've got that. Now there is a control that I want to add in here that will allow them allow them to update their photo. So let's say photo. No, it's going to be media. Media. Add picture. Okay. Now this little control is really nice, but it's also a fairly big pain in the rear, if you ask me. And you'll see why I say this here in just a moment. And okay, Kenneth says just the edit view. Okay. So for the width and the height, let's make that. Let's make the width the same thing. See self dot. No, self dot height. There we go. All right. So the default photo, if I can click on the photo, see they're in a group. I almost want to take them out of the group, ungroup those. Hopefully they still work like that. I really don't like groups. You click on one of the items thinking you're going to get the image, but it just selects the whole group. And then you got to click on it again, or maybe even a third time. Okay, so we got the image here. And instead of a sample image, what we're going to say is GBL, current user, dot, photo, base 64. Now we've got a little label here. In the fill, well, that's a white color. Let's bring that down to 50%. Oh, you know what? That needs to be, I need to have a percent sign there. There we go. So we could change that. Very good. Now, for all of these input controls, what we need to do for the default is we need to look up that GBL current user dot title. Okay, we got that. We'll go down here for the default. This is going to be user email, first name. Ooh, what's going on here? Why does it not like first name?
Is the F supposed to be lowercase?
Oh, you know what? I'm in the color.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in color.
Hmm.
So that should be color white.
That was interesting.
First name, yeah. Default. Last name. Now, what you said, I think you suggested, Matt, is they're going to be mad that they have to enter this type of stuff. Well, let's go over our loading screen real quick, and let's look at our code that created them in the database to begin with. What do we have? Oh my goodness. For first name, we had the given name.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yep,
didn't that
given
give
name.
us anything? So that's odd. Now, what you could do is you could look at.
Is it because should you put in given name instead of first name?
Let's do this. And we'll say Office 365 users dot my profile, and I'll say given name. There it is.
Okay.
Now the question is over here, did we use the version 2?
We did.
My profile v2. And I did. Okay, so let's try this, guys. I'm going to go over to the user. I'm going to edit the data. First name is right there. What's going on? I blame it on you, Matt. You did something wrong. I'm here fixing your code.
Oh boy.
Oh, now it says Darren.
Hmm.
That's a little odd. A little odd.
Is there?
So I'm a little curious here. Let's go in here.
Is the fill the text?
No, the fill is a background color.
Background.
Was I using?
Okay.
Was I using the no, it's default. And it says Darren.
Okay.
So what did I changed the fill. That shouldn't have changed anything though.
Yeah, see, it says white on the color text font.
Yeah, so that's white, and then this one. What does it have for its fill? Okay, let's just copy that. That is white, but you know what? If we made the foreground color white, it's just invisible. Oh my goodness, man. Look at that. You should have caught that.
I was sniffing out the trail, okay? I was getting there.
Were you now?
Yeah.
There we go. So I was about to back out of the project and come back in. Do you please speak slowly because I don't speak English well? Yeah, you know what? I've had a few people that do not speak English, and they're looking for my videos in other languages, and I'm evaluating some software that will allow me to speak. It will actually use my voice and say everything that I'm saying in other languages. So I'm curious, what language do you speak? I know I've got a big viewership. My number one viewership is United States. Second is India. And then third, I think, is the UK. So yeah, I'll try to speak a little bit more slowly there. Sometimes I just get really excited and I want to go really fast and make a lot of progress before. I don't like to go over 3 hours on a live stream. It's a little much.
Speaking of
trying to think, there's another thing like in Zoom. I paid for an upgrade on my Zoom. So when we do a webinar, you can pick a different language and it'll give you closed captioning at the bottom. Yeah. And I think once this video is on YouTube for a while, it can actually auto-generate captions for you as well. So just
very nice.
Keep that in mind there. Okay. So we've got that. We've got my last name going there. And then for default here, we need GBL .pen. Okay. And let's make it so they can only enter numbers for the pen. Now I'm sort of curious, what is that typed in there? Okay, office location. Click on default. And also something else that you can do, even here on live, it doesn't have to be like on demand. You know, like you don't have to wait after I'm done. What you can do is pull the little the dot, you know, what do you call that? The playhead when you're watching a live stream. Pull it back so you're not really live, and then slow down me to like 0.5. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
talking slow for you, but not for everybody else. And then you can make me as slow as you. I mean, I could go to a fourth of the speed if you want.
Yeah.
And
Good idea.
yeah, so you could partake like that. Now, I may not be seeing, if you ask a question, I may not be seeing it in the right at the right timeline, but feel free to keep asking questions or anything, and I'll still try to answer those.
Yeah. There'll be a delay, but if you're patient, yeah, it'll come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't take my live streams down here on YouTube. So even though maybe you don't, get something or whatever, I'm not going to take them down. So um, I guess the only exception to that would be is after they've been out there for a while, I might package them all up and make a course out of them, like I did with the ticketing system course. I did do that. Let's see, job title. Okay. Oh, look, I'm a boss.
A
Boss.
mouse.
Okay, now what do we need? We need a little save button. Okay. And we might need two buttons, one for save or submit and one for cancel or back.
Mhm.
And we might want to, let's put in a container. Now, why would you want to use a container, Matt? What's the upside of using a container here?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Take a stab. What do you like about the container? Is there anything cool you could do with a container?
I need to experiment more with the containers.
Okay, perfectly fine.
Does it have to do with memory?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
So I'm going to go in here and give this a nice gray color. So I'm going to say F5, 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 hit enter. That looks a little nicer. And then what I could do for the border is I could give this a border color a little bit darker. Let's say color value. Oh, I could actually say color dot dark gray. And then I'll go down here to the bottom and I'll say regular. Why should you use a container? Because you get these really cool looking drop shadows. And you can move everything at once like this, you
That's
know?
what you want is the cross
That's
shadow.
that was the answer I
Okay.
was looking for, Matt.
Oh man.
Oh, I hate containers. I hate containers. Okay. So, Emo, what you're talking about, I'm just gonna say this for everybody. Let's say we got these two fields and they make up one field, right? So you could say, okay, group these things together. Okay. And that might actually be a best practice. Now, what happens, it makes for a poor developer experience though. I'm like, oh, I need to change that right there. I click on it and I go over here and start changing stuff. Well, you
Mhm.
notice it gave me the whole group. Well, I don't want to modify the whole group. I just want to get at that little text box. So I got to click on it twice, sometimes three times. So that's why I don't like the groups. So I will ungroup those. Sometimes it makes it look nicer here. So instead of groups, I mean, you could do containers instead, but yeah, personally, I don't like those. I am going to use a darker color for the font. So I'm going to go to color. Instead of using primary, I'm going to say darker. 5. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to use darker. It's almost maybe too dark. It almost looks like black, which I don't want. Let's say darker 10, darker 20,
Yeah, 20 is nice.
30. I like 30 for the text. So now,
If only they were grouped, Darren. You'd be able to change them all at the same time.
that is a good point, Matt. You got me there. Checkmate. You'll never convince me, though. Okay. Here we go. Now on this little thing here for the color, I'm going to do the same thing there. And then also I'm going to try to make that background color more like 80 or 70. All right. And then I'll put my buttons usually at the bottom. Now, what you should have told me to do, Matt, is go big or go home, Darren. We
And
could have gone with extra bold. You
oh
know,
yeah.
do you like that? I think it's a little much, at least here on the bottom.
Uh, yeah, because it doesn't really the container's a little small.
Yeah. So maybe semi-bold, semi-bold. And here I'm going to say save. And let's make this a little bigger, like 120. Move it to the side, copy paste. Let's create something for cancel.
Now, Darren,
Uh-huh.
Darren,
Uh-huh.
you got to switch those.
Cancel and save.
Save's got to be on the left side. Yeah,
What's going to be on the left side?
save.
Why?
Cancel has to be on the right side. That's just the way it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Go find me an article. Let's hold on. Hold on. I'm going to
Yeah,
ask
this is a
Perplexity.
UI principle right here. Yeah.
Really?
Well, I'm not saying that it is a UI principle. I'm saying
Oh, we're gonna find out now that you
yeah,
said that. We're
yeah,
gonna find out who's
we've
right
entered.
right now. We're gonna do it.
Okay.
Given the very best UI, UX design principles, if we have two buttons at the bottom of the screen, one for save and one for cancel, which one should be on the left
So
and which one for the right?
looks like they're talking about consistency.
Well, I always consistently put the save button on the right.
Oh, really? Okay. Huh.
Oh, whatever.
Okay, now but
If
to be
if you're an Apple person,
the save is on the right. Oh, that's even worse. If that's what
so
Mac does, I want to do the opposite.
see this right here. Maybe this is a Mac. That's what I do. Boom. Oh, it wants you to do like a button that doesn't look like a button, perhaps. I mean, doesn't really.
Oh.
Yeah, agree on the right side.
Hmm.
Oh, but look at this one.
Interesting.
Primary, secondary. Maybe because people read from left to right, you know?
Yeah, so I found one where cancel's on the left side.
Hmm.
Chrome tends to put cancel on the left
And we
side.
don't want to use the same colors either. So these are modern buttons. So I should be able to say secondary. Do you see how that worked out?
Yeah.
All right, you convinced me.
Well, actually, if they're different colors, it doesn't
Oh,
affect my eye
you're
as
gonna go back.
much.
You're gonna go back on that, huh?
I think it's fine if they're different colors, but if they're similar colors,
Mm-hmm.
then save has to be on the left.
Well, let's look at. There's an outline that looks very similar to secondary. Subtle. That's really subtle. Do you like the subtle?
I
You
do.
got transparent, which looks just like subtle.
Hmm. Secondary. The secondary works too.
Yeah. Do you like the outline or not? That's the question. So if I said subtle,
I think there needs to be an outline or an underline so that people understand
yeah.
intuitively it's a button.
Now, what my wife would tell me is like, no, you want as few lines as possible. I like lines. I like. They say this about men and women. Women are more like spaghetti brain, where they can think about multiple things at once, and men can easily, compartmentalize. Now, I'm not trying to
Overgeneralize.
stereotype anybody, but I know that's true with her and I. She'll talk about one thing, then me talking about something else. I'm like, whoa, 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 what did that have to do with this? I was in my little waffle brain where I was thinking about this one thing, and you went over here, and that's on the other side of the waffle. So I'm gonna go with the secondary, and then we're gonna keep up with these. See what's going on with Kenneth over here. Please use update context to add records with patch. Sure, I can do that. What's the UI tool called? What UI tool? Also, Kenneth had a good question. Yeah.
Oh, maybe they wanted a link to the UI
Oh,
discussion.
yeah. So it is called Perplexity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that link with you guys so you guys have it. Okay. Perplexity. Yeah, we try not to talk on anything controversial or anything on the topic of religion here on this channel. Just Power Apps. We're just talking about Power Apps and software developer, and maybe Star Wars. So what we're going to do is we're going to patch. And whenever I patch, I'll say update context. We'll use curly braces. All right. And I usually create an LOC record, a
Where's your Red Bull,
local,
Darren?
huh?
Where's your Red Bull?
I might need a Red Bull right now, to be honest. I'm running out of steam. Local record, and then I'll go over here and I'll say patch. Semicolon. Actually, I can't do that here within the update context. But what we're going to patch is the app user. Maybe.
I saw that.
App user. And what we're going to do is we'll do a lookup here on the app user. And then we're going to look to see where I'm going to go with the intra ID equals global current user dot intra ID. Now, in this particular case, we're using the update context because Kenneth was asking for it. However, this current user is a good example of having a global. Okay. So instead of doing update context, if I was working with a global, I would use set instead. But let me show you how to do update context, and I'll show you what I'll do after this that will fix that. Okay, so we do a lookup. If you give lookup just 2 parameters and not 3, it's going to return a record. If you give it a third parameter, which is the field name, it's just going to return the value from that field out of that record. Do a comma, and now we've got all the things that we need to patch in here. Now, let's just do title at least. And this is the text box, txt. Display name. Go here. Dot text. Now the patch function does return the record that was patched. And we catch that with a local variable there. And then after it's all patched, what we could do is say set gbl current user loc record. We could do that. All right, I'm going to go get the code that we have on the first screen because a lot of this code has already been written. Here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to show you what I'm copying. Okay.
Yep. Those are just the fields from the table.
And then here and save. Take out those curly braces. Don't need the title because we already have it there. We do need a comma up here.
Yep.
All right.
It's angry.
Huh?
It's angry.
It is angry.
Oh,
What we
real quick. Emails
uh,
email says girls have multi-threading. I like that.
I'm not going to talk about political stuff. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. 65 email, boom. So we need to name all these guys here. TXT, first name. Otherwise, somebody will be like, hey, you always tell us to rename our controls if we refer to it in code and you don't do it. So I got to make sure I practice what I preach here, right? Last name. So people ask me like, oh, you don't like to use forms. What do you use instead? Individual controls, just like this. I can make it look as nice as I want it to. With a form, I don't think it looks that nice. I think it looks big, blocky, and I mean, there's a modern edit form control, but I don't like forms. Sometimes they reset. They've got all these weird little quirks that just slow me down. So I
We
try
don't
to.
want our power apps to look like power apps.
That's true. That's true. Office location. We have TXT department. And we have a job title, TXT, job title. And I think we're set up now. Take that out. Yeah. TXT first name dot text. TXT last name dot text. TXT M365 email, yeah, dot text. You know what I would do here is I would just grab it. Boom. This will be the ID. Or we could just leave that completely out and not touch it, not even change it. Office location.
Yeah, because we don't want the employee to change it.
Huh?
We don't want the employee to be able to change it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But when they get to the screen, they already have a record out there, and I've already put that enter ID in there. Okay. With the form, it looks like a Power Apps app. Yep, sure does. TXT job title dot text. All right, now what about department? TXT department dot text. Whew. All right, here's something. Photo base 64. So what we will do is we will go find this image here. Image. Updated image. So we'll take that, go into here, dot image. All right, then we have that. And my photo disappeared for some reason.
Oh, Kenneth has something.
What's that? Oh,
Kenneth, I know you don't want the users to modify the data. Could you explain the method to do that and comment out the code, and then I can practice on my own? Okay.
So Kenneth, are you talking about the intra ID? Also for the potential students so that they can follow our patch philosophy. So give me more information. Like, are you talking about the intra ID? So let's say we want to put the intra ID in here. There's the intra ID. Now, we don't provide a text box to allow them to change it. It should just be this global variable that was created on the first screen, and it has the intra ID. So we could just put it into there. Okay. So we should go through all that. And let me just put some information here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Darren 1, niece 1. I'm going to say for the department, IT. Job status, boss number 1. I'm going to say beside Disney. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Let's see what happens here. I saw some champagne bubbles go across. And I'm going to hit a refresh. And we got Darren 1, niece 1, Darren niece 1.
Yep.
Beside Disney. Now, where's my pen?
Does that have something to do with the fact that you put it as security?
So what we needed here is pen. txt pen dot text. So that needed to be in there. All right. So Kenneth says, I'm talking about the fields. The fields are you using there? Matt, do you have any idea what he's talking about? What he wants me to do?
Can you give us a little bit more clarification?
You know what I can do, Kenneth? Oh, you're not hearing the as a panelist. I could have brought you on and you could just talk freely. But yeah, give me more details of what you want me to do here. The fields you are using there. So that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm using all the fields here. Substitute on a new line. Move that over. Oh, we're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
He and his girlfriend are doing stuff. So yeah, you just let us know whenever you're free, man. And we'll yeah. Let's see here. Okay. That should be good. And I'm going to go back to the data source. And now I just had this thing open twice, it looks like. There's enter ID, and we should be good. Now, the question is, if I were to change my photo to something different, if I can do that. I got to find a good one.
What you got for us?
Gotta look at my thumbnail folder. And we'll go look at. Oh, there we go. I got one. All right, I'll hit save. All right, so now I'm wondering. So we put that in the local variable. And then down here, we put that local variable in that global. I mean, suppose that we want to add a record and modify the record after. Oh, okay. Well, you would do this again. Okay. And you want to update the title again? There you go. You could patch it yet again. And then you'd have to do this if you make sure the global variable is updated as well. So you could do that if you wanted to. Now, if I didn't answer your question there, Kenneth, you gotta give me more details of what you're talking about. Emo says, "I'm his girlfriend." Guys, I'm not. I'm gonna talk about political stuff here. Are we able to do that now? I can see you're adding a record, but is it possible to modify an existing record? Yeah, by doing this right here. Okay, so if I take this, the title, the second time I update it, I could say now. Okay, so up here, I take whatever's in the text box. Okay, and then down here, I'll give it a different value. Well, let's try that out. Save. It went really fast. Look at this. And because I put it back in that variable, now it displays up here.
Mm.
Okay, so he says perfect. So I'm going to take that as an indication that that's exactly what he was looking for. Okay, so we have a screen where they can do this. Okay. Now, should we be updating Azure AD or Intra with anything they've changed here?
The DBA guys would have a blow a gasket, right?
Yeah, IT may not like that, but they could also lock that down. So if we had a Power Apps that did it and they didn't allow it, they can set that up and then we would get an error or the user would get the error.
Oh,
But do you see my little profile photo up here?
mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I
Didn't
want to
change.
change that? Right? So let's see how we would do that. I'm trying to get this guy to disappear. There we go. Where is on select? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take out this code that's a little redundant. Okay. And I'm also going to take out this update context because it really doesn't, if you have a global and the global makes sense, then there's no need to have LOC record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. I'm going to cut that. I want to put it here. And now I don't need that code. You want to take out redundant code, make things as simple as possible. So now we can do all this with one line of code.
Mm.
Now the patch should come back a little. There we go. So it's nice, cleaner code. All right. Now, after we do that, let's talk to the Office 365 users. Oh, look at this. Update my photo. And there is no V2, thankfully. What's the content type?
Image.
Image. I mean, it might be PNG for all we know. But let's do this. The file will be an image updated image dot image. Okay, now I like to break down my function parameters like that. Let's try this again. Save. Okay, now that still shows the same thing, but I'm going to hit X, and I do not see any errors, which makes me think that it did do it properly. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and go look at Delve. Delve. L. Okay, I'm going to click on Delve. It's going to open a new window. I'm going to find out who my boss is and who reports to me here. So there's me.
There you
And
go.
oh, there's my new photo.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Wow.
So it did update it. Okay. What else can I update or should I update? Well, if they change something else, let's say Office 365 users, update my profile. Look at this. Curly braces. Okay. So display name. Can we do this? Doesn't look like it. What about interests? Look at this. We've got these are the things we can. About me, birthday, interest, my site, past projects, schools, and skills. Now you notice 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are table type of values,
Okay.
which means we would tell the user, hey, split up your schools and skills with a comma. We would use a function called split on the comma, and that would create a
Mhm.
little table, and then that's what you'd put there. Can the change picture have a hover effect? So like when you mouse over it, it says change picture. But when you don't, the text is hidden. Sure. Absolutely. Um, is that all you want to do is just have it change? So here's the add media button. Scroll down, there's a tooltip. Change your photo here. You can say whatever you want to. I hover over it. There's a tooltip, change your photo. I mean, you could tell them like, hey, you're going to be updating we could have a checkbox. And if they check off the checkbox, then we go update Azure AD. And if they don't check it off, we don't. That's sort of cool.
I think
Yeah.
she might be wanting to see the picture in, in its entirety before they save.
What's that? Who wants to see what?
Like it's
Can you repeat?
covering your face. The
Okay.
change photo. I think.
Okay. So if you don't want it there, so here's the text that will be displayed there. We'll change the font size. We can make it this, that way. I don't see a vertical alignment. There's the tooltip. You could have them use their mobile camera, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah. So if you want that to be somewhere else, and I've done this in applications. I didn't want it to be in the middle. You just bring this down right
Mm.
there. You guys
Okay,
like that
very
better?
good.
Or we could put it all the way up here, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
Like that. Okay, let's go find out the Y. 70. Right. Yeah, that doesn't look bad right there, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if we want to update the other stuff,
Hmm.
let's see what we got. Hit a comma if you want this stuff to pop up.
Okay.
Emo says, "Oh, I thought the change picture with white background was an element." Now, I don't know what you mean by element. It is this add media button control. And what I was doing for you is I was looking through all the properties to see if there was something that allowed it to. But realize if you want them to click anywhere on the picture, then you might want this to be displayed out like this. And if you don't like how that looks, if you go over to this, we could change this to like 50 so it's not really covering up too much stuff. You know what I mean? But then it's hard to see the other thing.
Hmm.
So a little bit of a trade-off in anything we do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So down here, I'm going to use the comma again. and we got about me. Now, do we have about me here?
No.
Doesn't look like it, huh? So how you do that? I mean, you just put a text box here. I mean, the main thing for me is I'd want to change my picture. I don't know that I want to update anything more, but that's how you do it. Let's look at about me and my site, birthdays, past projects, tables. Do I show my skills? Yeah, I'm not really showing any of that. But I mean, let's say this field was interests or hobbies or whatever. Okay. Well, down here, about me, birthday, interests. So let's say about me. I could say that text box dot text. Now I think it says I'm my father's son. Now I'd click on that and it would take whatever I typed here and would put it back into that. Now the important thing to notice here, guys, is that we can update 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of information. So we can't update everything because if you look at what we had over here on screen 4, we got quite a bit going on. Now, why is this all messed up? That's weird.
Yeah, look at that.
That's odd.
What in the world?
What in tarnation? Okay.
And your borders got taken away.
Yeah, what's going on?
That's weird. I haven't seen that before. Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, even the borders are messed up, but okay. So, what else do we want to do here today? Now, if we're going to make an org chart, let's go find. This will be interesting. When this screen loads up, we'll show them all the roll-up information. Org charts are a pretty big deal in large organizations, man. People like to see those org charts.
Yeah.
Okay, so Emo says, doesn't really matter, just curious if the mouse overworked in SharePoint elements. I tell you what you can do. Let's say we got a little label here and we got some text, and the text says, click me. And we make it bigger. We make this like 20 or 40 or something. And we'll make this, now this is a modern label, so there's some stuff that we can't do. So if they hover over it, it doesn't change. And in a classic one, it gives you that little thing like you want to select text. Now, if you want this thing to turn into like a little pointer, like you can click on it, what you would do was you would add an icon to this. You make it just as big as the label. And then for the color, you say, color is a magical color called transparent. Now, if you're on it, look at that. Now we got something to click on. Now, and you can put a tooltip on the icon that they can't see because it's see-through. So that is something that you can do. Sort of useful.
Yeah.
So
plenty of tricks.
So after this, down here, what are we looking at? Width. We have a width block. Okay. Oh, you know what I want to do here is I want to get their manager. So let's say
That's just every Karen meme. ran through my head when you said I want to get their manager.
Oh yeah. You have been promoted. You are now one of my elite employees. I don't think I actually created that. Where is my diagram here? Manager ID. That's what we need. Manager ID. Now, something I think would be better than just saying manager ID is just to use the email, because instead of seeing just a bunch of numbers like 99 and 24, whatever, you see their email and you could almost make out who they are just by looking at a database table, and we could look them up based on that email. So I say manager email. I'll hit OK. Okay. Oh, well, this one's set up right. Do you see that?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, this is the project that hangs if we try to save it.
Yeah.
We don't want to mess with that.
Right.
Now we do need to refresh the data source here for the app user. Boom. And so now we'll have manager ID or manager email.
Couple questions
So,
came.
huh?
So Dustin asked on the old label control, didn't you have hover border color and other hover properties?
Yeah, you had a border, and the other properties have to do with like hover, and you had fill. With a new label, you don't seem to have that. So I like the classic labels better than the modern.
Yeah.
Emo says, "Excuse me,
Screen
can you
4.
go back to screen 4?" If we had more fields than fit on the white canvas, like we needed to scroll down. Sure. What you would do is click on new screen and you type in here, scrollable screen.
You're not going to put it in a container?
I guess you could do that with a container. Yeah, you could do that. Why not?
They're good for more than just
So you're telling me
shadows.
that guy back there isn't real. Watch this. Do you notice we don't have any scroll bars?
They didn't put it as a property?
Is there a property called show scroll bar?
Yeah. They need to put that in preview.
They need to. Go ahead and send an email to Microsoft for me.
Okay.
You tell them that Darren says.
Yeah, I'll CC you on it.
They'll ask, who's Darren? Okay, so how the scrollable thing, now I don't really care for this header thing. I'll do my own header if I wanted that. And when you start ripping things out, it's going to be like, what do you want for that 0? Okay. And you add an item here. Well, let's make this item like this. And we'll insert a text. Okay. Then we'll add another section. And then here we'll add a button. And we'll add another section. And we'll add another button. But this button will be a little over. Add another section. A button. Button. And we'll cut that one.
It's in the same section.
I know, right? Now that add section won't be there for the user. Add. Let's add some bigger stuff. Let's say rectangle. And this rectangle is going to be like a big rectangle. And we're going to make the height of it to be like 700. Well, that was the width. Are you laughing at me? You laughing at me, bro? Okay, you get this scroll bar here. You can use the scroll bar during design mode. And you need it because you see that add section? Now we can add another button. Scroll down, add a section, button.
It looks like it's kind of fighting you, though.
It was.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you have tons and tons of fields, now you could do tabs. I have that in my Jumpstart kit. already laid out. You could do tabs. You could break it up into separate screens. Just don't put a form and hide and show different data cards, unless you want to.
Unless
But
forms are your jam.
if if I so I get asked this a lot. So like, let's say I've got a bunch of contracting work come in, I can't do it all, and it's like, hey, what you know, I'll do some Power Apps for you, Darren. If you don't follow my advice, then I can't give you work. Because let's say I need to take the project back, or maybe I need to maintain it, and I go in there and you got forms all over the place, and then I got to rip it out and redo it. Then what was the point of that?
Right. Exactly.
Um, let's see. Could I ask a question? It has nothing to do with your life. Is this about Power Apps application that I'm developing? Is this about a Power Apps application
I
that
think
I'm
he
developing?
Yeah, I think he wants to ask a question about their projects.
About what?
I think they want to ask a question about their project.
Okay. Yeah, what's the question? Dustin says overflow. There is a song called Even Flow back in the 90s. Now, when you say overflow, are you talking about, this stuff? Actually, I think it's vertical overflow, but it may need to be vertical horizontal container, not the standard one. I think you can do that with horizontal and vertical containers.
Okay.
So why not create a new screen, right? Let's go up here, tree view, new screen. And I mean, all these are this responsive containers. I mean, we could do this. Um, so let's add in horizontal container, copy paste. Ugh. Okay, now I got two containers. I'm going to copy that, click on the parent, paste. Now I'm going to click on all four of these. I'm going to copy, click on the parent, paste. Maybe there's a scroll bar for this parent one now. There's a wrap. Scroll. Look at that, guys.
Oh, there we go.
I learned so much just by answering people's questions. Not that I know the answer, but I just try it out and boom. Okay, there's the answer. Now that's not bad. I'm really happy when I learn something. Good deal, guys. I love these questions. If we added a table to the scrollable canvas, is there a SharePoint free limitation on number of columns or rows that you're aware of? If you've got tons of columns, what you want to do is create another database table, okay? For example, look at what I've got here. So users will have preferences. Now over here, let's say we've got 20 preferences. You would have 20 rows in this table. Instead of creating a bunch of columns, let's say we could have created 20 columns on here. Preference 1, preference 2, preference 3, no. Over here, we'd have a row for each preference that we want. And then over here, we store the user's answers to that. Darren, you have an error on the same button, by the way. Okay. What same button? I don't see any errors here.
I think he meant save button.
Yeah. Let's go back to screen 5.
I don't think we finished it.
Okay, I put a comment in there. So you take the comment out and it's good.
Ideas.
What's that?
Email's full of ideas.
I just had an idea. Is it possible to add embedded links to the canvas, like an embedded HTML link that contains a chart? Now, if you're talking about an iframe, the answer is no, unless you install a code component that does that. So you've got to have admin privileges over the environment and install that. So there's a component out there that somebody wrote that you could have an iframe. If you want to have, like, say, HTML sitting in a database record somewhere, there's nothing that would stop you from, I'm gonna add a new screen, blank. You bring over an HTML control. Okay. And this will render HTML code. So yeah, you could do that. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go back here. Now, what I was trying to do was show this guy's manager here. So manager email, what I'm going to do is M365 user. Now, do you see up here in the with block? That says my profile, okay? Dot. Where's my manager? Do I see it? Let me scroll slowly. I think we got to use a different method name. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this. Dot manager v2.
Okay.
Now it's expecting an ID of the current user. So what I'm going to say is M365 user dot ID. What else can we pass in here? Anything? And then we'll say dot mail.
Okay.
Okay. And then what we could do, this would be cool. Yeah, you're too pro at Power Apps. Yeah, I think maybe the reason why I've been a software developer for 25 years, and I think a lot of that sort of carried over, maybe. And I just sit there and try things until I figure it out. That's probably what my definition of a good developer is that they'll be able to figure things out in one way or the other. Now, in the accelerator program, you can use me to get unstuck. I'll answer your questions throughout the week, so you're never stuck. But eventually you should start to be more and more self-sufficient. So let's say you've got a problem on Sunday afternoon. So I've got a group call on Tuesday to answer a question. So that gives you a day or two to sort of like try to figure it out on your own. And if you don't get it figured out, I mean, you don't want to be, your project's due. You need some help. So in the matter of 2 days, then I can answer a question or answer it in the school community. And Ian says, for this user profile data app you're building, which data source storage location do you feel would be most ideal for it, and why? SharePoint or Dataverse for Teams? I don't like Dataverse for Teams because it has some limitations, and from what I've heard from other guys that I respect, some other MVPs, they say I don't think they've said that it's junk, but they talked about it as if it was junk, like they don't want to ever touch it, So I would say Dataverse, because Dataverse is a SQL Server database, so it's going to be nice and scalable, and it has a bunch of features that doesn't have so much of a learning curve as SQL Server does. And then also within Dataverse, you can have virtual tables. So you can map in a SQL Server table or map in a SharePoint list or an Excel document as a Dataverse database table. So database, as long as you got the licensing for it, should be the first data source that you reach for when you're building an app. It is actually more efficient in most cases than even SQL Server because there's less API calls to go through to get at the data. My question is, I use Excel files as my database. I have 90 Excel files, which are on the SharePoint site. The purpose of the application is to allow technicians to work with customers to enter the intervention report and update the Excel file. Each file corresponds to a residence. I therefore started to create 3 screens for each residence. Oh, man. The problem is that I continue this space, I'll end up with about 300 screens. No, what you want to do is, let me go back to your previous thing here, 3 screens. just have three screens. Okay. So residence, display of each, and so you got three screens per residence. No, those three screens should be flexible enough to handle any of the 300 plus locations that you have. So you don't hard code things. What you want to do is put this all in one database table, like a real database table. If you can do Dataverse, use Dataverse. If you don't have the premium license, use a SharePoint list, and then you're gonna have a column in each of your tables that says which residence it is for, or what location or region. So then you filter on that. Um, what I'd
Yeah,
recommend, because we're running out of time, is just like rewind here in YouTube and then play me at like a 25% speed. Because I don't even know if I remember what I just my mind's after I go live for about 2 or 3 hours, like I've got to like go lay down. Like I,
yeah,
I exhaust all my energy and stuff.
yeah.
Okay, so you can database. Okay. So yeah, put it all into a Dataverse database and create a residence database table that holds all the residences. And then that should work out really well. And then you can filter it based on what you need to pull back into the app, you know. All right. So I sort of want to get this roll up thing done before we're done with the live stream.
Okay.
That probably is contributing to how fast I'm talking. So what I'm going to do is, how am I going to do this? I'm going to go look. Because I could be working for a large enterprise and I could have 6 layers of managers until I get to the CEO, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little button and I'm going to set the visible to false before I deploy it. So the user's not going to see this. And this is what I would do. I would say for all, and let's say sequence, and you put the biggest number that you think that you could have in an org chart. Now, most org charts, 5 or 6 layers is, you know,
Yeah.
generally good enough. But let's just say 20.
Okay.
Okay, it's a big bureaucracy or something here. So we're gonna go 20 levels, and then what we're gonna say, we are going to do a collect, and we're gonna call this managers, COL managers. And then inside this, yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I do work a lot of hours, a lot of days of the week, so much so that sometimes my wife was upset with me. But yeah, I do a lot of hard work, and I hope you guys like it and appreciate it. So I appreciate you telling me that you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for managers, I'm gonna go to this on visible, and we'll need to do all this.
Oh, really?
So let's check this out. This is what makes an org chart.
But this time it's just for managers.
Well, we have one button for the roll up, and then we have another one for roll down if we want.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we got this, we got this. Okay, so now once we're in here, Oh wow, I'm gonna have to think hard for this. This is gonna be a little hairy. A little hairy. It's not gonna be nice and clean. I'll try to make it as clean as possible here, but yeah. Okay, so the first one we're gonna do I'm gonna say if. Now the sequence I'm gonna say as my if my dot value is 1, then I want to return the GBL current user. Else, I want all this with. So the first time through, we're going to have the current user at the top. And so we're going to go in the order from the current user all the way up to the CEO. So in this case, what we will do is we'll have to rely on this collection that we're building. And then for here within this with, we're going to have to say last of the collection dot value. That can't be right. No, we should have got to take all this stuff out. And then take all this stuff out. Patch. We do need one parenthesis there. I just don't think we need that one now. Okay. M365 users. So I'm going to say .id. No, we want the intra ID. So now we're going to have to say Office 365 users dot get or user profile v2, and then we're going to get at the ID there. Dot, no, that's it. That's what we want to get at, the profile. And then the photo is going to be this guy. And we do account rows where the email equals that dot mail. And we're just getting delegation warnings. That's fine. Because that's a complex type. Okay, to get around delegation, we'll say M365 user email, and we'll use all this dot mail and put in a comma. So now we could use this, and we don't have a delegation warning on the inside. For a second, we did have a delegation on the inside, which we definitely don't want. So is the guy there? Is that manager there or not? If he's not, then we need to add them. And what we'll say here, we'll need to go up one. So instead of user profile, we'll need manager v2. That's what we need. And then I want that photo. Huh. To get at that, I'm going to have to say something like this. .id. There we go. Okay. Oh, come on. That looks nice. Okay. We'll count rows based on that. If they're not there, then we're going to add. What are we going to be doing here? We're going to be looking at this guy. There. Uh-huh.
Be right back.
All right. 65 user. Okay, so that all should be the same. All right, so this is the manager. We grab all this information. We get that manager's information. That email should be right there. I think that will do it. Now I just need some good AD information because my organization, my tenant, doesn't have a lot in it. Okay, so let's say I need to go change my Azure AD information. Let's see here. Users, active users. I'm going to set my manager. My manager should be my wife. And find out where that's somewhere else. I need to do that. Okay. Licenses and apps. Manage groups. Oh, that was an external guest user. So that was different. Okay, now I see. There we go. So if I go back, I can manage managers. Okay, so we got Nicole. All right, so now I'm going to go find Nicole. And I'm going to make her report to Matt.
I'm not going to touch that.
Manager, let's change to Matt. There we go. And then we'll make Matt report. Where's Matt? There you are. I'm going to make you report to Kenneth.
Oh boy.
All right. This should be fun. Now, do you see this little button? BTN get roll up.
Okay.
So at the end of the screens on visible, once it's done, we're going to say select that button. I'm going to go to a different screen. And when I click on loading screen again, it's going to run it. Hopefully no errors. Crush fingers, big bucks, no whammies.
Oh, champagne bubbles. Whoop, whoop. Oh no.
Okay. Does not exist. Query. So the Office 365, and I'm gonna whenever you see these, you should probably grab a screenshot really quick because it will disappear after a few moments.
Okay.
And I think what it did was it rolled all the way up until Kenneth, and Kenneth doesn't have a manager. And then you got that error. Okay, let's go over
Now is
to our
that
data.
because you put in 20 in the sequence?
That's a good point. Yeah. And I think what happened was, okay, if I were to do this again, I want to go to home screen and then go back. At some point, it's going to give us that error. But now we need to trap that error and say it's fine, not show the error to the user. So it's me, Nicole, Matt, Kenneth. Those are the 4 people that we should see there. Kenneth, where are you? And it might be because sometimes when you change things in AD, it takes a while to propagate. So now we built a collection. Poll managers. Let's bring over a gallery. Blank vertical. Title. Look at that.
Yeah, I knew that was coming, Kenneth.
What did he say?
He told me to behave.
You better behave. Okay. Oh, you know what I should have done here on this button? For the call managers, I need to do a clear.
Yeah.
On that guy. And now I really do need to indent this stuff over properly. take out all the, because I think it's working great. It may not look that way right now, but I'm going to go to the tree view, go to a different screen, come back. Okay, we got up to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'm going to go back to Matt and look at your manager again and make sure that it is Kenneth, and it is. I'm going to refresh, and it's showing you. Okay. Let me make this a little more interesting and put a gray color. And let's go into template fill, and we'll say color dot white. Okay. Let's make this font a little bigger. Nobody can see that. Okay, I'm going to save. I'm going to go to a different screen. I'm going to come back. Champagne bubbles are going.
And bubbles.
Come on, Kenneth, where are you at? Okay, so when we get in here, and let's say we're on, so I'm number 1. Nicole's number 2. Matt's number 3. I wonder if I backed out and came back in, maybe it'd refresh the AD stuff.
Yeah.
Kenneth, where's my name in the gallery? Yeah. I'm working on it, bud.
We're getting there.
Have patience, don't be in such a hurry. When you get impatient, you only start to worry. Remember, so that's a song I sing to my kids, and they get really upset when I sing it. my dad, not a dad joke, but a dad song.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you at, man?
That song might be the only thing worse than a dad joke.
It's actually saying like this.
Oh no.
Have patience. Have patience.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah, you get the idea. So you're like, stop. Yeah.
Sing it as slow as possible to incur
Yeah.
the most pain.
Have you seen Loki, where they put that collar on him on the first episode of Loki?
Yeah. I
He
loved
moved
Loki.
in a much lower, but he felt all the pain. That's what it's
Mm-hmm.
like.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty good show.
I don't know where you are, Kenneth. Where did you go?
Spoken like a true CEO. He said, I used to say that to the tax collector, but it never works.
So why isn't this getting the last one? I think we're getting an error. Look at this. This is where the error is happening. So when we get, okay, if error, then we'll say empty. Otherwise, we will get that value. There you go. I hope, Kenneth, you show up now.
Wow. Okay, so I can't lie. I'm confused as to why that worked. Like,
Yeah, there's a function called if error. So if there's an error getting it, then
oh,
so when we got to Kenneth's the CEO.
yeah.
So when we get to this portion, so this is, if you look at Kenneth, there is manager email. And when we got to Kenneth, what? I'm going to refresh this. There's Kenneth. Kenneth is at the bottom, and he's got no manager. Now Darren should have a manager, but okay, here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take everybody out. Refresh. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to refresh the app user. Then I'm going to go to a different screen and then come back. Wow, that went really fast. Okay, there we go. Okay. So let's go in here. And the error is happening right here. Okay, so what we do is down here where we're trying to look for Kenneth's boss, Kenneth has no boss. So we get a blank there.
Oh, okay.
So what we need to do here, I know what we need to do. We'll do the last if the last manager email, if that is blank, I think I messed that up.
Yeah, the IntelliSense is.
Yeah. If that is blank, well, actually, I'm going to say not is blank, then we can continue. So at the end of this with, we need another one of these. What? I don't know why you'd have a semicolon at the end of with. That's weird. Invalid memory arms. Receive one, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So let's say I wish we had an exit for. Yeah. Okay. So what we need to do, we'll take this out. Put that there. And then here, we'll collect on this with. And then we should be good. If. Okay, as long as we don't have a blank. Now, if we have a blank, that means it's not going to do anything. Man, we're really going through some indentation stuff here, huh? Oh, Tyler's coming in. I think he's got one of those big pipe with concrete in it where the SWAT comes in. He is coming at that door. He's strong, man. He's like pure muscle. Yeah.
Luckily, your mic is good. We don't hear it.
Okay, so if they're in there or not, we patch. Otherwise, we do a lookup on the manager last intro. Okay, but yeah, this should work. Maybe I'm missing another parenthesis there. This is getting hairy.
Yeah.
Kenneth gave me the most useful piece of information. You typed something wrong. Something's wrong with the knot.
It brings us full circle.
Oh, you're right. You're right, Kenneth. Look, I need a parenthesis right there.
Oh.
And I put one too many parentheses. I think that's it. Kenneth, you saved the day.
Kenneth for the win.
Heck yeah. All right, so on this call managers, what we need to do on the on visible is we need to clear that thing out. Because I don't want to show up and like, oh, they're all there already, you know. So I'll go to a different screen. I come back.
Nobody likes a sore winner, Kenneth.
No errors. Boom.
Hey,
Success story.
nice.
How about that for an org chart, guys?
Yeah, we did it.
All right, get
And by
this.
we, I mean you.
We're a team.
Cool.
All right, so check this out. Let's add in an image. And in
Oh, and
this,
grab everybody's profile pic. Cool.
this item dot photo. Does everybody have a photo? Kenneth, why don't you have a photo? Nobody's got a photo. Now, what we could do is we could say ampersand this item dot photo length. Let's find out the photo length on these guys, huh? 21. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if this item dot photo length, if it's over 21, then show the image. Otherwise, say sample image. Booyah. I just got the whole roll up.
Nice.
Noise. Guys, is that a wrap or what? I'm too hot for this. That is some cool stuff. So now we've got a database table. Don't make a liar out of me, SharePoint. Here we go. We got all this stuff in here.
Very nice.
And Kenneth does not have a manager. Look at that. Now, why is this so valuable, guys? If we do an approval workflow, you probably want the workflow to go up the org chart. And as they approve, it comes back down or just gets completely approved and then you're done. How cool is that?
Yeah.
I
Very
love
nice.
it. I like it a lot. So, what have we accomplished? Let's list off all the accomplishments here. We talked to and we thoroughly used this Office 365 users component. So we found out how to get at a user's profile information. Oh, he wants the MSAT file. No, I think this one I'm gonna just keep to myself, Kenneth, if you don't mind.
Rewatch the video. You can type
Yeah,
it up
just rewatch
yourself.
the video. Yeah, let me get that for you. Org chart app. And just to show you how generous I am, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to like my own post because apparently there's only one person that likes it, and that's Mark. I'm going to go in here and attach the file. And I'm going to go where all the MSApp files are at. There you go. And you said the video as well. The video is on YouTube. And I have no intention of taking it down. Could you do this top down to avoid no manager issue? Now, what does that mean? Oh, start. Oh, you know what? We didn't do the direct reports. All right, so we can do. Now, how easy would this be? So for each person, you know what? We're past the 3-hour mark. I almost want to stop there, but let's copy and paste this gallery here. And if I select one of these guys, I'm going to select Kenneth first. but this is gal roll up. So we'll take gal roll up, and then over here, we're going to say gal roll up. Dot selected. Office 365 users, directory ports v2. Okay, and we'll get at their intra ID dot value. Now, what is that value? It's a table. What's in the table? Dot display name. Okay, so I guess Kurt is okay. So this image, I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna comment this out for now. There we go. Okay, so where's Kurt in all this? I'm gonna go look at Kurt and look at his manager information. Okay, there's some guy named Darren that's his manager. Let's go over here, and for the template fill, come on, here we go. I'm going to say if this item dot is selected, color dot light yellow. It's my favorite for something like this. Click on Nicole, Matt, Kenneth. So now, Kenneth, what I need to do is I need to create a big org structure, and I need like some type of a pyramid, like how a real org, but that does it right there. Boom. Now what we need to do is, if they're not, when we click on this, we need to add it to our loop, and that would sort of build out the org chart for us. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
All right, guys, I have one request from you guys. You ready for this? Now, I'm not going anywhere, so nobody go anywhere, okay?
Out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated.
See, I'm still here. Now, who wants to know what video to watch next?
So you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, gotta hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube